Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Payoff pitch presented by Fantasy Phenom. I'm Kyle. That's Mike. Here to recap July 8th, 15 games, Saturdays, and look forward to the final day before the All-Star break.
Yeah. Welcome, guys. It's the Sunday edition of the Payoff pitch. As you guys know, Sunday, the main slate transitions to the early slate. I think it's 10 games starting at 1 Eastern. And then there is a 5-game afternoon slate as well, at least on DraftKings that's the case. So
Yes, sir.
that makes up a normal Sunday. And like Kyle said, the last slate of baseball DFS prior to the All-Star break. Not sure if DraftKings is going to do a All-Star game
slate
like they did for the NBA. I'm not sure yet, but
I think FanDuel will. There is a they're not very secretive about it, but there is a what looks like a home run derby contest that they look like they're going to launch. And
cool.
So it's like I said, it's not very secretive. It looks like the words, it's just not revealed. So we'll see.
Either way, I think the All-Star break will be a good opportunity for not only the two of us, but everybody in the community and everybody listening to take a step back and kind of review the first half of their DFS season. Takeaways, and it's going to be good, I think, for the community to kind of reflect and provide each individual person's takeaway from the season and kind of maybe inspire some conversation in that sense.
Yeah, and I think, this is a good time to plug the WNBA, by the way. So let me pull up what we have going right now. We launched some WNBA sheets for our subscribers. And courtesy of Mr. Keith and JC, they are holding down the WNBA chat in River. And as you can see, let me switch the page here so you guys can see it. Very basic, but I am working on projections, and that is what I will be working on knocking out during the All-Star break. So, as you see here, we got the FanDuel slate and the DraftKings slate, right? So it shows all the positions, everything like that. And one thing we're working on doing is Keith and JC's player pool, so that'll be up. That is a new thing we're launching. Obviously, those are going to be some popular guys during the All-Star break with all of us that still need our DFS plug.
Yep, you got to have your fix. I know that. I remembered we were doing the NBA during the NBA season. Hockey got some love during then, and so I definitely agree. I think everyone's going to need their fix, but I definitely encourage some baseball conversation and kind of come together and see what worked, what didn't work, and so we can kind of prepare for the second half.
Absolutely. Like you were saying, man, reflection, figure out what worked and what didn't. We mentioned the home run derby, and I think this is a good opportunity to discuss where you think this is going to go, Mike. I think this is the most exciting part of the All-Star break. Figured we'd have a little fun here. So
it's going to be now that the All-Star game doesn't count toward home field advantage, the home run derby really is becoming the premier event. They've marketed the shit out of it this year. I think it's going to be fun, and I'm excited.
So I figured what we'd do is we'd create a little competition here.
Okay.
I'll give you your 2 Yankees.
All right.
Because I know you want them. I'm gonna take Bellinger and Moose, and then we'll figure out the other 4. And so we each have 4 guys, and the loser has to do something crazy. I'm thinking if one of your guys wins, I'll shave half my beard, so I'll have like half my left side of my face and the other half shaved, and then I gotta think of something crazy for you.
Could always grow a really sweet mustache.
But that takes too long. It's gotta be something that we can come back on air and.
Well, we'll leave it to the people. You guys let us know what the competition should be.
There you go. So let's do this. I'll let you go first. Of the remaining 4, who are you picking? I got Bellinger.
Well, I think we should stick. So think you should get Stanton and Bohr if I'm going to get Sanchez and Judge. I think that's kind of only fair.
Okay, so you got Sano and Blackman then.
Right. We'll just do that then.
Okay.
Any narratives? I know that Judge and Sanchez, the batting practice coach or the guy that throws batting practice for the Yankees is making the trip with them. So
is he left-handed? Because Gary Sanchez can't hit left-handers to save his fucking life this year.
I don't know, but if you watch some Yankees batting practice, I like that. I like that narrative.
Jag says you got to wear a Mets romper.
I don't know. I feel like that's bad karma.
But yeah, so I'm going to be interested to see, obviously, what'll be really interesting if Bellinger and Judge move on. Probably the two brightest stars in this game right now.
It's going to be narratives galore. It's also the first home run derby without Chris Berman, I believe.
Yeah.
Carl Ravitch, I believe, is going to be announcing it. So
I don't know if that's going to be nearly as exciting.
Yeah, maybe not. I think this is going to be exciting no matter what. I think no matter who's announcing it, I think this is going to play itself out pretty well.
I gotta see if Theo's off work that day. I'll let him do a YouTube show and he can announce like Chris Berman. That's something Theo can do. Did you see him on Twitter tonight? All about the MMA.
Yeah, it was.
You didn't even have to watch the fight to know what was going on with Theo on Twitter.
It was fun, man. I think I didn't get to watch the pay-per-view, unfortunately. Work stands in the way sometimes. I figure I pick and choose my pay-per-view cards. Just didn't seem like the right one to go out and do. But yeah, love me some MMA. So again, if you guys want to join the community, we have chat with that, and it's awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff Daniels as well in the chat, River Group. He made his spreadsheet for the whole community. So big ups to you, sir.
And that's what it's all about. Kind of play DFS. You want to come in and bring stuff to the table. I think it's not going to go unnoticed. I think people are going to come to you and welcome it.
Absolutely. So I got another fun little topic that I think we should cover tonight as we kind of wind down the first half. I mean, kind of just having some fun. Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge. That's going to be a heated debate for years to come. Who and why?
Well, what I think is great, I was talking to somebody about this today, what I think is really great for baseball is the fact that Aaron Judge is coming in here and doing what he's doing. Because for a long time, someone of his size and stature was, looked at by scouts and, baseball minds and pretty much told to not play baseball. Three-sport athletes like himself throughout high school, scouts were telling people like him to not play baseball. Because no one's ever done what he's doing at his size. It's rare for that to happen, and so I think maybe we'll see going forward, people of his athleticism and his size. We talk about athletes, we're talking about the NBA going to probably all forwards here in the next 10 years. I think it's going to be great for the game, seeing what he's doing, and maybe we'll have some more people of his size, start playing baseball instead of basketball or football.
So, to answer the question, who and why long term?
Well, I think Aaron Judge is going to have the bigger impact long term. If you just want to compare statistics, it's hard not to go with Judge at this point. I could see either argument. If you were to tell me one or the other, it'd be tough to decide. But I do think Aaron Judge is going to have a bigger impact for the game long term.
Do you think Aaron Judge is the better statistical player?
I mean, if you talk totals, probably not. I mean, he's already 25. Bellinger is only 20 or 21 or something. So if you want to talk like who's going to have the most home runs in their career, obviously he's handicapped a bit. But, I mean, Aaron Judge is
already 25. Did he play 4 years of college?
No, he I think he was drafted after his sophomore year.
Well, I think if you don't come out after high school, don't you have to do you have to be in college for at least 2 or 3 years, correct?
No, you can get drafted in a year, I believe. I'm not 100% certain on that.
I swear I think MLB has a rule where if you don't go right out of high school and you decide to go to college, you have to wait 2 years. Could be wrong. But I remember talks about that because the NBA was looking to implement something, because literally it's a waste of school's time and players' time and coaches' time to send a guy to college knowing he's going to come out after 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, Judge, they had to transform him to be a baseball player. I mean, he was a three-sport athlete, all-state high school football and basketball, chose baseball, and it took him some time to develop. I mean,
Well,
there's a reason.
Just from last year to this year, the development is ridiculous. He's all of a sudden he went from a guy that was home run or nothing to now he is a complete player. He's playing for the Triple Crown. No one would have expected. I don't think anybody ever expected Aaron Judge to be an average machine like he is and take walks.
Exactly, man. It goes back to what I was saying about scouts. I mean, I'm sure most scouts were looking at him. You know, he's a late first-round draft pick, and it took him a while to go through the minors. So he definitely needed some development to slow his swing down through the zone and show a better eye at the plate.
So Marcus just informed me, if you don't go out of high school, you have to wait until your junior year to re-enter the draft. So it is, you have to.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Marcus.
Yeah, so you do have to wait a little bit. I knew there was some sort of rule, but yeah. I don't know, man. This is really hard for me to say because I'm a Giants fan. Cody Bellinger is. I know he's not the popular choice right now because Judge is kind of taking the world by storm, but I think Cody Bellinger ends up the better player. And that's not to take away from Judge at all. There's something about him. It's gut feeling. I mean, both guys have the statistics. Both guys have, they're very similar in their playing styles and their builds, right? Neither guy, I mean, they're both big. They are, I don't know. I think it's a worthy discussion. It's going to be fun to watch these guys as the years progress.
I mean, you think about Bellinger. I mean, he came into this season. He's the opposite of Judge. He skyrocketed through the minors. He came into this season as Baseball America top 10 prospect, and he's got the pedigree. There's still a big part of me that thinks, you know, this can't keep up with Judge. Whereas, you know, I could see Bellinger not only sustaining it but also improving on what he's doing. What can Aaron Judge do to improve? You know,
it's almost like a pitcher that makes his splash onto a scene, right? Like their first year, you know, these guys are major leaguers for a reason, and teams adjust and etc. And so, I agree with you. It is kind of odd to see Judge was never projected to be this type of player, and so will it sustain? Whereas Cody Bellinger was always touted as a top prospect, and so this is more expected. Now, that's not to say, I mean, prospects have been wrong all the time and players develop, but that's not to say that Judge can't sustain it. It's just, it is a lot more shocking and surprising.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big prospect too, but for different reasons. So I think it is going to be fun to watch. It's great for the game, and it's great for this home run derby. I'm going to be watching. I think it'll be fun to chat with the community during the whole thing too.
Yeah. So, all right. The Reds kind of owned the slate today. So.
Yeah. So obviously this is main slate we're breaking down here.
Yeah. The 8 games, and this is my dude, man. I pitched him. I didn't pitch him today, but he dominated the Diamondbacks today. I'm trying to remember who it was. 6 2/3 inning, not 6.7.
Yeah, well, it's easier for me to do it that way.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I see what you're saying. 6 2/3. Okay, I see what you're saying there. So 6 2/3 innings pitched, 8 Ks, 3 hits allowed, 1 walk. Dude's a top prospect for the Reds, and he put it on display tonight, man. He went in and shut down one of the best home teams in the league.
Yeah, ruthless, man.
Built to hit righties. Their home road splits are ridiculous, and he went out and said, nope.
Yep. It's interesting what he's doing, man. They just got to thrusted him into the rotation. He skipped AAA, and he's come out and shown his strikeout stuff. People haven't hit it. Went into Chase Field today and did his thing. So props to Castillo. Definitely turned some hits today.
Yep. And then we had Ivan Nova. Had a wonderful game. It was kind of weird because I stacked Cubs today. Namely Ian Happ, Kyle Schwarber, and Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant put up a dud. But Ian Happ and Kyle Schwarber, did their
It's
thing.
a sole offense.
Yeah, they legit. I mean, they produced their price, and so it was odd. It was a weird day in that those two, you could have had Nova and those guys and done awesome. Mike Clevenger, talked about him. He was fantastic today against Detroit. Their worst splits, if we mentioned many times, is on the road versus righties. They limit hard contact. Mike Clevenger has been a guy that's come out of nowhere as well. Jose Quintana was amazing value. Pitching in Coors, only gave up, was it 2 or 3 earned runs? I can't remember if that third one was earned or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then Chris Smith from the A's. It rings true, man. Never, ever, 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 ever stack against a guy that is seeing a team for the first time. I've avoided it all year, and continues to prove that these guys. It's just tough.
Castillo. Look.
Yep, Castillo today. Yep.
Yeah, I think definitely into something there with Schwarber and Happ. Their 2 solo home runs was the entire offense for the Cubs today. Clevenger's been having an up and down year. That's playing well right now. And then Quintana's playing some of his best ball of late. Now, this is all ranked, obviously, by value, price per dollar. And that's why Chris Smith kind of squeaked in there. Had himself a nice game.
Absolutely. And then our king of the diamond, as I mentioned, the Reds absolutely owned the slate. Billy Hamilton, 3 stolen bases, an RBI, 2 for 3, 2 walks, a run. Was on base all game. 36.7 FanDuel points, 29 DraftKings. Mr. Bellinger himself, Gerard Dyson, and then Tucker Barnhart and Joey Votto rounding out. So, what's interesting, Mike, is we preach, and the entire DFS world preaches about stacks. It's no coincidence that since we started doing this King of the Diamond, have you noticed that every single night there's been at least 2 players from one team on it?
Mm-hmm. There's been a 2-man in every time. So 3 Reds today in Chase Field. I think they're in a good spot again today. But yeah, Billy Hamilton with the 3 stolen bases today was the top scoring player on DraftKings, and he was just behind Bellinger, but still was a better value at 3,300.
Yeah. So, and then Gerard Dyson did his thing. Tucker Barnhart.
He had a home run and a double, I believe, today, right?
Bellinger, and he got a walk-off.
Dyson.
Oh, Dyson, yeah. Bellinger got
walk-off walk.
Walk-off walk. And then Votto stays absolutely hot, and then Tucker Barnhart obviously been doing his thing.
Is that catcher punt?
Yep. So that is our recap. On to Sunday, our last day for the next 5 days. After this, we got to wait until next Friday to play some MLB. As Mike said, it'll be a nice break. Give you some time to reflect kind of where you're at. We got a ton of aces all on the slate today.
It's weird, too, because normally the day before the All-Star game, they don't usually line up that way. Or they try not to make it line up that way so they can pitch, but...
Well, I think because the All-Star game doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah, true. It's different.
And, I don't want to say every game does matter, but in the MLB there's so many games. But still, right, it doesn't matter. You can pitch your ace this last game, and then you'll still have him available for the first game. And what's going to be really, really interesting to watch? And it's going to be how teams set their rotations coming out of the All-Star break. Typically, teams will match their division. Especially second half of the year, you have a ton of division games. And so, let's say the Yankees and Red Sox, for example, if the Yankees come out and they start Drew Pomeranz in their first game back, not saying they will, right, their number 3 guy, typically the other teams in the division will try and match suit because you want to give yourself the best chance to win on a nightly basis. And the Yankees would want to have Tanaka or Severino going up against Chris Sale and David Price. They don't want to have Tanaka going up against I don't even know who the Yankee or the Red Sox fifth starter is, but
That makes sense.
I don't think it'll be how we saw in the beginning of the year where you have every single ace starting on the first game back. Unless teams all decide to do that, then it'll match up that way. But it's going to be something to watch for.
No, I agree. And obviously injuries are going to play a role into that as well.
Yeah.
So
Brian Johnson, there you go. That's our fifth starter. Jimmy Nelson, Masahiro Tanaka tomorrow. Both these guys pitching really well of late. Jimmy Nelson is phenomenal as of late. 36% K rate over his last couple starts. His StatCast numbers are off the boards. Good. The Brewers are mad hot. Am I crazy for saying the Brewers are going to win the Central?
I don't think so, man. I think they might be making some moves here at the deadline.
I've heard Quintana. I've heard Sonny Gray. So, yep.
They definitely do need a pitcher.
Quintana,
although Josh Hader, man, I don't know why they don't want to promote him after.
Dude, did you see? Yeah, you saw what he did to the Yankees. Clint was talking
Absolutely.
about. Clint was talking about him in the group. He's like, I can't wait till this guy. What do you have? 7 strikeouts in 3 innings.
Yeah, I drafted him in my dynasty league, in my minor league draft. I drafted him in Marte, and they don't seem to really want to make him a starter. He's like a kind of a changed pitcher. He spent a lot of time in the minors.
Okay.
He's already in third organization.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with him.
Yeah, Jimmy, man, he's now he's a big strikeout pitcher. This guy is blowing people away with his stuff. Definitely has some big swing and miss stuff. He is a DFS upside pitcher no matter where he's playing, who he's playing. So keep that in mind. I think there was a lot of solid options today, making him kind of a tough one against the Yanks in Yankee Stadium at his price. But again, you always have to bear in mind guys that have swing and miss stuff just like Jimmy Nelson does can go out and dominate a slate.
So I want to give you a couple statistics here because I was looking at numbers before we came on air. There are only 2 teams on this entire early slate that passed these tests for me. So I gather the team's information. I gather their last 3 games, their last 7, and their last 14. I try and find trends, right? And I run these tests on them. I find teams with a team WOBA under 350, a K rate over 20%, a line drive rate under 20%, and a hard contact rate under 35%, right? So none of those are good things. There are only 2 teams that passed all 4 of those tests on the last 3, last 7, and last 14. Those 2 teams were the Yankees and the Phillies.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, no joke. The Yankees are not the team that they once were. They're now, I think, well, they won today, so they're probably 3 games back of the Red Sox.
So I am heavily looking at Jimmy Nelson and obviously, to skip ahead a little bit, Trevor Cahill for those stats alone. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy Nelson, I'm with you, man. We talk about this all the time. He has put away stuff along with that great ground ball. He's a sinker ball pitcher, right? And so he can get ground balls when he needs to, but he's able to use that pitch effectively to get strikeouts when he needs to. And that's an elite combination.
You know, I'm not really excited about playing any Yankees except for Judge against Nelson, so I could definitely see myself putting him into some consideration that is intriguing. Probably won't be playing any Clint Frazier tomorrow or today. I think
he had
Saturday night in New York. I imagine he's having some fun tonight.
So to put in perspective, prices. On this slate, John Lester is 10-4 on FanDuel, 9K on DraftKings. Yu Darvish, is he?
He's a top price pitcher on DraftKings.
He is on the slate. He's 11-6 and 9-4 on FanDuel. Crazy price difference. Chris Archer is 10-7 on DraftKings and 9-9 on FanDuel. Brad Peacock is 9-4 and 8-1 on FanDuel. Very cheap. Jameson Tyone 8-8 and 8-3. And then Jimmy Nelson is David Price is 9-6 and 9-5. Tanaka is 9-8 and 9. And then Jimmy Nelson is 9.5 and 9.3. So Jimmy Nelson is not even in the top 5 highest priced pitchers on DraftKings tomorrow, or on FanDuel for that matter of fact. So I believe
it's Nelson, Tanaka, Price, and Peacock is like that upper mid tier tomorrow on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think he. I don't think he gets ownership.
He'll definitely fall out.
Yeah.
He'll definitely not worthy of what he's been doing. So I agree.
Yeah, I don't think he gets all the ownership tomorrow. I think people are gonna they're gonna see the big names. They're gonna see Nelson in New York, and I don't think he's priced low enough to be a viable SP2 candidate for people with the amount of salary you'd have left. So if you're making him your SP1, then I think you're going to get him. It'll be much easier to put him as your SP1, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and don't sleep on Tanaka either. I mean,
absolutely, Brewer struck out a ton,
and he's got some of the best swing and miss stuff in the league if his pitches are on. So
yeah, so splitter obviously. Houston, Toronto, we have Jay Happ, who's been pitching well, and Brad Peacock, who has been pitching phenomenal. Brad Peacock, a guy you're going to throw tomorrow?
Considering it, problem with Peacock is length, obviously. He's yet to pitch in the 7th inning, I believe, this season. But the strikeout stuff is just elite from him. I think if he can limit the walks and maybe get some early putouts, something that he's shown that he can't do. I mean, you look at, he's got a hard contact rate under 20% in his last couple starts. So you're just waiting for that epic performance from Peacock where he goes from a guy that's throwing 5 innings, striking out 9 and walking 4 to 7 innings, striking out 10 and walking 1, you know? And then Houston, I mean, Happ.
There's no way I throw Happ tomorrow.
Yeah, but going up against him either,
I look at George Springer, who is no pitcher.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, pitcher doesn't matter with George Springer, especially a lefty. He almost holds a 500 WOBA and a 400 ISO versus lefties this year. So George Springer will continue to be in consideration. And Carlos Correa would be the other guy. Both those guys have been hot as of late and continue to do damage. So that would be where Alex Bregman is a consideration on FanDuel, though, at 3,200. That's an interesting price. And Yuli Gurriel is 37, I believe, on DraftKings. So that's an interesting play as well.
I just don't know how much I like the stack against a lefty with Houston. I mean, a couple games ago, Liriano kind of shut them down.
True.
Happ's been playing well.
And then the one thing I have concern with Toronto is I think they are starting. Obviously, there's one game left before the All-Star break, but I think they're starting to wake up a little bit, Mike. I just
Hope not, but yeah.
I don't know that Peacock is the guy I want tomorrow. I'd feel more comfortable with Nelson than Peacock, personally.
It's definitely debatable. I mean, it's just been very strange with Peacock, the fact that he's just, I don't know, striking out or walking pretty much all the batters.
That's what concerns me is if he's not going to get strikeouts, he doesn't give up home runs. He hasn't all year, but the fact that he can put a ton of guys on base and this team can make you pay just because he hasn't given up a home run doesn't mean he won't, so it's concerning with the amount of guys he puts on base. That's kind of my concern.
Also, seeing here that Toronto sees the 3rd most pitches per plate appearance in the major leagues.
That doesn't fit his. I mean, that makes him. He can be gone by the 4th inning, 5th inning with the amount of inconsistency he has in his pitches.
Right.
You buying into this narrative at all? David Price going back to Tampa, obviously a few years removed, but
yeah, too many years removed at this point. Maybe that second half of that season when he got traded to Detroit, but not at this point.
You don't think he gets up for it at all? Still some guys on this team that he knows.
I don't know that he gets up for it just because. I mean, he has been pitching. He's been trending in the right direction. So I think this is a good matchup. The lefties versus Tampa. So yeah, I think again we talked about it. Peacock, Price, Tanaka, and Nelson, kind of all right there in price. That upper mid range. I think I'd be comfortable throwing 2 of those guys, to be honest with you, on DraftKings.
I think you can definitely pay up for 2 pitchers tomorrow on DraftKings. It's going to limit the amount of bats you can get, which, it's
Well, if you pay up at 2 guys at $9K, it's really not.
It's not terrible.
Not that debilitating.
Yeah. And what about Archer? Not pitching well of late, but obviously I believe 2 straight road starts, which we know his road home splits are real. Much better pitcher at home. Gets a Boston team that is cooling down. They're definitely trending in the wrong direction. I'm not going to say they're cold yet, but if you look at their stats from the last 14 to the last 3, in progression, they are cooling off. This Archer, I think he goes low owned tomorrow.
Yeah, it could be a leverage play for that reason. I doubt he will grab too much ownership because of what Boston does as far as striking out. And they hit the ball hard. They're always one of the league leaders in hard contact. So as a team, so I think for those reasons and his price and the other pitchers on the slate, I think Archer will not get much ownership. But for that reason, he could be a leverage play.
Yeah, I mean we know his upside. It's just a matter of The one concern I do have is strikeouts. It's not the best strikeout matchup for him, and Archer's problem is hard contact. And so if guys aren't swinging and missing, they're hitting it hard. And that does involve quite a bit of risk.
Exactly.
Pittsburgh and Chicago. We have John Lester and Jameson Taillon. I am seriously looking at some Taillon tomorrow. I actually think he outperforms Lester in this game.
I agree. I think he will outperform Lester, but I just don't know that he will be a top 5 pitcher tomorrow just because, I know he's got these strikeout numbers, but if you look to what he's done in his career in the minors, it just doesn't really fit him. I saw an interview after the last game. He were talking about, you struck out career-high 9 guys, but only went 5 innings. And he was saying, I'd much rather pitch 7 innings and strike out 4. So it's not like he's looking to do that. It just tends to be happening right now. But yeah, we talked about earlier, the Cubs, their whole offense was 2 solo home runs today against Nova, who limits hard contact and fly balls. Taillon does the exact same. So I think Taillon's is an interesting spot. It's just the price isn't low enough to make me believe he's going to be a top 5 price or points per dollar guy.
Okay. I have him currently as my 3rd favorite pitcher on the slate. Just from the fact that the Cubs are, I don't want to say they're stumbling, but they're not the Cubs that we expected coming into the season. By far, that's goes without saying. They are more free swinging this year. I don't know. I see some upside with Taillon. I really do. He already pitched well against them once this year. He had over 25 DraftKings points in Chicago earlier this year. I believe it was his 3rd start of the year. So, and I believe he's pitched against them twice already. The other start was in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, which wasn't his best start.
Right.
But
no, he's a good pitcher, man. I really do like this guy.
Yeah. So, and then we can't ignore Lester. We talked about Taillon limiting hard contact and fly balls. So does Lester. In fact, doing a better job of limiting fly balls than Taillon is. But I just don't see the strikeout upside that I do with the Cubs. I think the Cubs are more strikeout prone, and Pittsburgh I think is mildly more hot.
Yeah, stat-wise, both these pitchers are having similar seasons. We're talking about ratios, and I agree. I think Cubs are a better K matchup than the Pirates.
Yeah, we got Atlanta, Washington, Sean Newcomb, and Joe Ross. From the sheer, I'm gonna play narratives here. From the sheer standpoint of the amount of run support that Joe Ross gets, and I don't know why, but it seems to hold true all the time. There's no way I pitch Sean Newcomb tomorrow. If he goes out and has an amazing game, more power to him. I won't bite that bullet. Washington just absolutely, for whatever reason, gets up when Joe Ross is pitching, and
maybe they give him like the keys to the music, on days he's starting. and he's just got some epic playlist in the locker room that everybody gets hype.
What do you think he plays? There's got to be
I don't know, man.
like what? Like Despacito from Justin Bieber. That's probably a hype song.
I don't know. I was thinking some more like
like
EDM trap music.
Like Lady Antebellum.
Definitely.
But yeah, there's no way I pitch Newcomb. Washington is definitely much better versus righties than lefties, but they're still. I just can't do it, man. They still have power both sides of the plate. I almost said Antebellum. Zimmerman and Rendon, obviously. Harper struggles with lefties.
You also failed to mention. That he's only had one good start.
Newcomb?
I mean, good DFS start, I guess you could say. And it was in San Diego, so.
Yeah, true. So yeah,
there's no reason for me to believe that this is going to be number 2. And I think you can kind of attack Joe Ross, man. He gives up home runs. I know he's been playing well. I think people are going to look at him tomorrow, but I think he's overpriced.
Yeah, absolutely. No way I play Joe Ross tomorrow.
I think he's got 3 straight quality starts, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, 4 straight quality starts, but still, he gives up the long ball. The Braves put up 13 runs today. I think you can go right back to it.
You know, speaking of that, you cannot tell me the Nationals do not have somebody in their farm system that they can call up for that fucking bullpen.
Dude, what about Joe Ross?
Dude, I put someone in there. Jesus, man, this bullpen is so bad. You literally cannot count on them to hold a game, and when they come in, 13 runs. Ridiculous. And shit, I was joking on Twitter today. Trade for fucking John Jay, who threw a scoreless 9th against the Brewers the other day. Something, man.
Realistically, what about Sam Dyson? I mean, once Melanson comes back, or he might be back, is he?
Melanson's on the Giants now, bro.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Because didn't they have Dyson closing for the Giants when he was on the DL?
Oh, I have no idea. Giants bullpen this is bad, but
we don't know who the Nationals closer will be at the end of the year at this point, I think.
I don't think they have a closer.
The Braves are in second place, closing in.
The Mets are sorry. The
Nats could be another big win, man, if they win this series.
Nats are going to need a Madison Bumgarner-esque performance from Max Scherzer in the playoffs to have any shot, because this bullpen. Whew.
Yeah, they're going to need something.
Now here, I think this is going to be a pitching duel 1, but Trevor Cahill is my dude tomorrow. 7,700 on DraftKings, 81 on FanDuel. Love Cahill's price and upside tomorrow versus the Phillies. I mentioned that they are the one of 2 teams that passed all 4 of those tests over the last 14, 7, and 3 days, so they're not trending well. The Philadelphia Phillies are.
No.
Worse versus righties than lefties by far. Their power all comes from their right-handed bats. And so Trevor Cahill, who is also like Jimmy Nelson in the fact that he has strikeout stuff, holds a almost 29% K rate on the year and a fly ball rate of 25%. So he's not giving up home runs. He does a great job of ground balls, and when the balls aren't hitting play, he's striking them out. So love Cahill against the hapless Phillies tomorrow.
They're limping into the All-Star break, the Phillies.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're hoping to have Hernandez back after the break. I believe that Jared Eichhoff is going to be starting this game and not Mark Leiter.
Did they change it?
I think they have him coming back. He pitched 50-some pitches in his rehab start, so I don't think he's going to have a long leash.
That's upsetting. Damn it, you're right. I was so looking. You know what, Mike? I honestly considered pitching both these guys at each other. The Padres are striking out at a near 30% rate over the last 14 days.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too, but I just don't think you can pitch Eichhoff tomorrow if he's going to be on a limit.
Hell no. I was looking at Leiter, but Eichhoff 0-7 with almost a 5 ERA. No way I pitch that, but that's really upsetting because
makes me like Cahill a little bit more, to be honest. The fact that Eichhoff's pitching.
Yeah, he's going to get run support. What do you think of Will Myers leading off? You think he stays there?
It's a bold move. I don't know.
I kind of like it. I kind of do. Talk about, it's not traditional, not at all, but there's something to be said about a guy, changing the position in the order, everything like
Hmm.
that. So I do kind of like it. I think it could work well, and he's seeing the ball what seems to be a little better. Obviously, he started the other day with a double. No home runs yet, but could be starting to turn things around. So
Yeah, definitely worth noting.
yeah, but Cahill, my pitcher tomorrow. Him and Nelson everywhere. So Baltimore, Minnesota. We have Ubaldo Jimenez and Kyle Gibson. Minnesota, far and away better versus righties than they are lefties. Ubaldo Jimenez is no one to fear. And Kyle Gibson versus a Baltimore team that is trending in the right direction. So again, looking at the last 14, the last 7, the last 3, they are slowly making their way to one of the hotter teams in the league. And I'm going to imagine they want to keep that, hold it out for the rest of the break. And my lock right here is Trey Mancini. He is 3K on FanDuel and 41 on DraftKings. If he plays tomorrow versus Kyle Gibson, Trey is hot, and he's crushed righties so far this year. That is my guy.
Yeah, I think he will. I don't see a reason he won't play. I agree. He's been playing really well. For what it's worth, Baltimore. I think this is going to be a game stacking. For what it's worth,
Yep.
these two pitchers have faced these teams once, and they each allowed 6 runs in that game. So both got blown up. I think it's worth betting that it'll happen again. To be honest with you.
I agree with you. And Minnesota's a better home team than they are away team by far. So
Definite game stack here.
my favorite play is going to be Max Kepler, actually, from this game on the Minnesota side. He's 2,800 on FanDuel.
Yeah, 47 on DraftKings is a little much. I mean,
It is, but I've been able to afford it. I was looking at it with Cahill, right? Paying down to Cahill gives you some options that you can't get if you pay up at both pitchers. So
oh yeah, I like lefties, and I like all lefties in that lineup.
But Sano as well.
And Sano.
Yeah. Can't fade him.
And that guy.
That guy. Mets and St. Louis. We got Lance Lynn and Steven Matz. I don't think
This is like more like a game fade.
Yeah, same here. I don't see any of these two guys as pitchers that are must throws for me, but again, not two guys that I'm must attack either. So, find myself fading this game. Who would have guessed that Jacob deGrom and Carlos Martinez was going to be a shootout, man? Did you you saw that coming, right?
Yeah, no. No, I think this is interesting. I think Lynn's played worse as of late, but having a pretty solid StatCast season. Matt's started pitching a slider again his last time out and is trending in the right direction. So both guys that limit hard contact. So it's tough for me to try and
Stack.
Stack against them. But then again, they're both guys that don't really strike many people out, so it's hard for me to pitch them. So
Yeah, exactly.
from a pitching perspective, it's kind of a fade. I think when these lineups come out, we might see something different, but as of right now, it's tough.
I would be interested if they move Paul DeJong up in the order tomorrow.
I've been wondering why they haven't.
He's been hitting well the last 2 games. He's been hitting well over the last 2 weeks, but last 2 games especially. And really, really cheap. If he moves up in the batting order, he'd be someone I'd look at tomorrow.
Yeah, he's been a punt that I've been using every once in a while.
Yeah.
When he's facing a bad pitcher, I like to go there.
And then we got the 2 afternoon games here, LA and Texas. Yu Darvish and JC Ramirez. You interested in going back to a Texas stack?
I could go either way. I could see myself even pitching Ramirez tomorrow if I really wanted to. I could see myself stacking against him with some of the lefties.
Here's the problem with Ramirez. His first innings are awful. If he gets out of the first inning unscathed, he most likely will be able to have a respectable game. Almost all of his damage comes against him in the first inning. So it is worth watching that. The top of this order is nothing to mess with. So I have concern with it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's cheap punt for sure.
Yeah.
I just looked at it because he struck out I think 9 Rangers last time he faced them. Had a pretty solid game, and the Rangers obviously strike out a ton. So at his price, where he's like second cheapest guy, I think it's worth a look. And then Darvish, highest price guy on the slate, has pretty much owned the Angels this season. So I don't see anything changing there.
Yeah, I think he's a good play, but for the price and the guys that I tend to look at it from a value perspective, right? When I pick pitchers, and I just don't. I just don't see the upside in Darvish as being the highest value play on the slate.
That's fair. Yeah, he is much higher than the rest on DraftKings, so I can see that perspective. But just saying, he's struck out Angels, double-digit strikeouts for the Angels both times he faced them this year.
Oh, absolutely. I think he had over 25 DraftKings points both starts, correct?
I don't know what the numbers were. I just know he played well.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then finally on this early slate, or main, I guess it is on Sunday, we have the Chicago White Sox and the Colorado Rockies. Rockies have been stumbling and not so much bumbling as of late.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Carlos Rodon. Kind of odd, man. The White Sox have thrown 3 straight lefties at the Rockies at home where they dominate lefties. We saw one great performance against Derek Holland, who definitely is not up to the same tier as Rodon and Quintana. We saw Quintana go out and have a good game. What do you see happening with Rodon tomorrow?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know. I mean, no one's gonna really be on him in cores, obviously. He was our ace of the slate not too long ago.
Last start.
So I don't know.
I'm with you, man. I'm really intrigued. I mean, his price is not favorable for a core. Like, his price,
No.
He's 76 on both sites, and Trevor Cahill, for perspective, is 77 on DraftKings. So you talk about risk. I don't know that there's more upside in Rodon either. That's the issue I have. Cahill versus the Phillies, Rodon versus the Rockies. I feel like more risk and less upside. Obvious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you're a risky risk taker, maybe Rodon is someone you look at, though.
Will asks, just real quick, I want to touch on this. He says, how do you determine a pitcher's value? The value is all priced to dollars. So in plain English, let's say a player is $1,000 and he scores 1,000 points. He would have a point per dollar. So when I look at you, Darvish, and I look at Trevor Cahill, right? Let me pull up, actually. I'm going to go back to our pitcher tab. So just to kind of show what we're talking about. When we talk about per dollar, right? So Luis Castillo on FanDuel scored 54 points, and his salary was $6,900. If you divide 69 by 54, am I doing my math correct? It's late. Let me make sure I'm doing my math correct. But 7.x value. So it's 6,900 divided by 54. No. No.
Maybe.
What am I doing? Why am I doing my math wrong here? Why can't I? There you go. Okay.
It's 6.9 times 7.8 equals 54.
So move the decimal places. 54 divided by 6.9 is 7.8 times value, right? So instead of the 1,000, make that a single number, 6.9, 5.9 on DraftKings, and divide the amount of points they score. That's the value they get. So it allows you, right, you want, the highest value doesn't mean highest scoring pitcher on the slate, by the way. It's just more so.
It might not even equal the best lineup on the slate. It just.
Exactly. But
it's just something you look at.
Yeah, and the reason I look at value is if I can get a pitcher that scores, let's just say, for example, Yu Darvish scores 45 points tomorrow, and Trevor Cahill scores 40. Yu Darvish is 12,000. Trevor Cahill is 7,000. If I can get 5 less points from a guy that's going to give me $5,000 more to spend on bats, I'll take that every time, because the goal is that by paying up for some more established bats, I can make up that 5 points and then some. So that's the whole point of the value.
Mm-hmm. However, when you're playing cash lineups or single entries, I think you want to put less stock into it, in my opinion.
Well,
I think it makes more sense to do it with multiple lineup entry.
Well, I think it goes both ways, because I think the end of the day is you weigh points to outcome, right? So if I see similar upside in Trevor Cahill and Yu Darvish, like if I look at them and I say, I really don't think Yu Darvish blows away Trevor Cahill's score. Price irrelevant, right? Price irrelevant. Who's going to score the most? If I see similar upside in the two, I will take the lower price guy with the ability to pay up to more bats and get the more expensive stacks.
No, I agree. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's a level of comfort sometimes when you're playing only one lineup.
Absolutely. So yeah, back to this. I want to attack Kyle Freeland tomorrow. Chicago is one of my favorite stacks on the slate. They are lefty killers. They also hit better on the road than at home. And so pair that with the fact that this road game is in Coors, arguably the best hitting park in the league. I love Melky Cabrera and Jose Abreu two-man tomorrow. I'd imagine both those guys play. Avisail Garcia, if he plays, is an interesting play. He doesn't have upside for me, though. He only has 1 home run versus lefties this year, but he has a .429 average. So he's hitting the ball well, just not going for those extra base. Well, he hits extra base hits, but not the home runs that I want. Todd Frazier, obviously, I could look there.
He's been home run or bust.
Yep, home run or nothing. So I love that two-man at the top, attacking Kyle Freeland. I think there is upside to be had there. And then I think you can continue to look at Nolan Arenado and DJ LeMahieu as a two-man on the Rockies versus Rodon tomorrow. But I don't stack Colorado against Rodon, personally.
Yeah. I agree from the overview standpoint.
Yeah. Oh, Marcus played Yolmer Sanchez. That's what's up, my man.
Yolmer.
All right, so to recap, I believe that's all the games on the early. Let me make sure. Yep. So yes. To recap where we're at on, I guess the main. I call it the early because it's early as fuck for me on the West Coast. But
the main.
The main. The pitchers we're looking at, Jimmy Nelson. Well, I'll give you the pitchers I'm looking at. Jimmy Nelson, Trevor Cahill, and why am I blanking? Third guy. Jameson Taillon would be the third guy I pitch tomorrow. And then the guys I want to attack, Ubaldo, Kyle Gibson, and Kyle Freeland.
Yeah, I agree. Freeland, Gibson, Ubaldo for me as well. Joe Ross is in there for me as a guy to attack.
Okay.
As far as to throw, I'm going to stick with Darvish. I like Jimmy Nelson, David Price as a combo on DraftKings. I think I'm going to do for your SP1, SP2. I get behind Taillon, and then I also, like I said, if I'm paying down, it's going to be for JC Ramirez.
Okay. No love for Cahill at all against the Phillies?
Oh, yeah, Cahill, I agree. I like that as well.
Okay. You were scaring me there for a second, Mike. I thought you were throwing away the best pitcher on the slate. Best value on the slate.
I do think he's got a great shot at being the best value on the slate. I agree.
Yeah, no doubt, for his price. Miami, San Francisco kicks off the main. San Francisco will get to end their abysmal first half of the season. Hopefully, we trade away pretty much our entire
the beginning
team.
Of the end.
Yeah, just trade away the entire team, and let's rebuild the farm system because we don't have a farm system either. So.
Jose Urena, another guy who hasn't yet to pitch in the 7th inning.
But he
tends.
Go ahead.
Say what?
I was gonna say he's not a guy that I'm gonna attack though.
Yeah, no, strikeout walk guy. He's got a pretty low WHIP, 1.2. Coming off a good start in St. Louis, and he's just been solid, man. I guess is the best way to put it. And I think on a slate, it's only 5 games. He's definitely someone you have to look at in San Francisco. So.
Yeah, on a 5-game slate, I'm with you. Again, there are a ton of aces on this slate, so that's going to be hard. I think you will probably want to find some value. I don't think Matt Cain's that guy tomorrow, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I'd rather pitch Urena, hands down.
DraftKings has Cueto pitching.
Did they switch that too? God damn it.
So add that to the aces of this slate. Yeah, so I just think Urena is going to have a legitimate amount of ownership tomorrow because people are going to, at least on DraftKings, he probably have no ownership on FanDuel, but on DraftKings when they're trying to find someone to pair with Kluber, Kershaw, Cueto, I mean, you're not going to use Homer Bailey, I don't think.
Yeah. By the way, Marcus asked, did you guys hear about the guy that hit 2 home runs off of Madison Bumgarner? I believe he's in the Dodgers rotation in his rehab start.
Yes, I believe it was in the same inning as well.
It was, yeah. So, Mad Bum's off.
We're on it, Marcus, but I appreciate it.
Mad Bum's off.
The bad juju for Kyle's Giants.
That's my boy, though. Mad Bum is like the saving grace for the Giants.
I love Matt. I love Bumgarner, man. Carolina boy.
I just love him because he's the GOAT postseason pitcher ever.
You ever heard the story about him killing a snake?
No, but that didn't surprise me at all. Sounds like some shit he would do. Are you looking it up right now?
Yes, I am.
While you look that up, I'll talk here. So Cincinnati, Arizona, we got Homer Bailey and Patrick Corbin. This is my game stack. If you can afford it. Patrick Corbin's not good. Homer Bailey is worse. So I think people are still going to go to that Arizona side, and I still like the Cincinnati side a little more. Their bats are hotter. And Arizona has been striking out a shitload as of late, Mike. You're looking at almost 30% over the last 7 days, strikeouts.
Are you talking about the Diamondbacks?
Yeah.
But you have to remember who they've been playing.
Yeah, I know, but
last week.
They're not hot right now. So I still,
yeah.
I think people will go to stack Diamondbacks before Reds, and for that reason, I think the Reds are the team I would stack personally.
I agree. I think this is definitely game stack worthy as well. You ready for the story? It's pretty funny. So Madison Bumgarner and his wife were roping cattle when Madison was startled by a large snake that he figured was a rattler. So he quickly grabbed an axe and hacked it to pieces. His wife, an expert field dresser, examined what was left of the snake and found 2 baby jackrabbits inside of the pieces of the snake and extracted them. A short while later, they found that one of the rabbits had moved slightly, and so he brought it back to their apartment and kept it for the next few days to keep it warm, and then bottle nursed it to release it back into the wild. So yeah, that's what he does in the off season.
I fucking there's no guy like this guy's got. He had all the fame in the world after that World Series, and he's like, I just want my truck.
Give me a Budweiser.
Yeah.
Can of Copenhagen.
I fucking love that guy, man.
Yeah, I'm all about a game stack here, man.
Like Kyle.
In Arizona.
I showed the River Group that picture of me walking lions the other day, and so now I'm Kyle the Lion Whisperer.
Goodness.
As long as these pictures are still correct, Danny Duffy will be facing Clayton Kershaw in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we'll see.
Needless to say, don't stack the Royals. And I still would rather play Corey Kluber than Clayton Kershaw.
Yes.
So if I'm picking between those two, it's going to be Kluber. But Kershaw should be in line for a good day. Are you attacking Danny Duffy at all? I don't think I do.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm still hesitant with the Dodgers versus lefties. I know it's not really as much of a thing anymore, but Duffy came back, played well. I mean, I think been a lot said about his mechanics and his velocity being different this season, but maybe he was injured and they obviously took his time getting it back. Pitched well in his last start, so I don't really want to stack Dodgers either.
That's a bat fade for me in that game. We have Daniel Gossett and Felix Hernandez. Neither has been pitching well of late. Oakland's been swinging the bats well. Seattle's been okay. I think this would be a pivot off of that Cincinnati-Arizona game, which should get most of the ownership for the bats. Who do you like more on this game, though, Oakland or Seattle bats?
So for an SP2 option, I mentioned Jose Urena to pair with Kluber or Kershaw, wherever you want to go. Would you rather put King Felix as your SP2?
No.
Against Oakland?
No.
So you'd rather pitch Urena in San Francisco?
Better park, worse team, absolutely.
Yep, I agree. I just think those are going to be the two guys that get the SP2 ownership on DraftKings tomorrow.
If there's any news about Felix getting ownership tomorrow, I'll have an Oakland stack. Because I don't think Felix is good chalk right now.
Not at all.
So
it definitely could be a game stack as well.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Both sides can be stacked, and so I think it's a pivot off of that Cincy-Arizona game. But especially if there's any news about Felix being chalk, line up an Oakland stack for me. Chris Davis had the day off. Yonder Alonso hit a home run today. Jed Lowry stays hitting the ball well. So, and then we have Detroit and Cleveland rounding out this slate. Corey Kluber and Michael Fulmer. As I mentioned, Corey Kluber is that guy for me tomorrow. Detroit's worst split is away versus righties, striking out almost over 25% of the time. They don't hit a ton of fly balls or home runs or hit the ball hard. Corey Kluber has limited all of the above there, striking out over 40% of his batters in his last couple starts. So Corey Kluber is that guy tomorrow. I think he's the highest scoring pitcher on the entire day, personally. And so that would be my lock. And then I'm not attacking Michael Fulmer either. He is better on the road than he is at home. This will be a game fade, or a bat fade for me, I should say.
Yeah. Fulmer could be an interesting leverage play. I think he's pitched really, really well lately. Brought back his strikeout stuff, pitching late into games. And I think Kluber, again, we both agree, is probably the best pitcher on the day. So for that reason, I think on this short slate, Fulmer could be an interesting leverage play. But, I don't really find myself wanting to stack bats. I think Ramirez is always in play at this point.
He's ridiculous. What he's been. Chisenhall, too.
Yeah,
that two-man is nice. So.
C.
To recap this 5
This is the late game, also worth noting.
Yeah.
So you might not have these lines.
Where I'm looking on this slate is Corey Kluber and Jose Urena would be my two pitchers. If I had to pick a third one, it would probably be Danny Duffy. Obviously fading Kershaw because I'd rather pick. You're not going to be able to get Kluber and Kershaw. If you do, good luck finding bats. But Duffy would be the third pitcher I look at, and then the guys I'm attacking is that entire Arizona game, and then Felix.
I do agree. I do think though that really the only two teams that are really expensive to stack are Cincinnati, Arizona. Mm-hmm. So I do think it won't be horrible. It won't be. You won't handicap yourself too much by going Kershaw.
And Kluber?
Well, no, you can't go both, but maybe you wanted to go Kershaw and Fulmer or Duffy. Kluber and Duffy. You could probably make it work.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I think game stacks in Seattle and Arizona is how I'm feeling.
Absolutely. So, appreciate you guys tuning in again, hanging out with us. Of course, as the DFS industry continues to grow and become more and more competitive, it's necessary to find any advantage you can. At Fantasy Phenom, that's what we're here for. We aim to give you guys advantages that no one else can offer. Of course, advanced stats, spreadsheets, and above all else, the community vibe and collaboration opportunity in the chat. So,
yeah. That's what this is built on. The foundation is not Kyle and I. It's everybody that's with us. Everybody here. We are the foundation, and this will only grow as much as people want to grow with it. So I always encourage you guys, if you have something to share, just share it. If you have any research to do it, and it's all up to you guys. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I think there's really nothing else like it that's out there right now. So if you're trying to join, the Phenom, we do have really user-friendly stuff and stats. Obviously, you're looking at the spreadsheets to help you build your lineups, but the main deal is to bring your hobby to a home base and have a great group of people to chat with about it.
Absolutely. And that chat's always going. So many different channels, of course. WNBA, everything else is going on. So, MMA, everything in there. So, more than welcome to. Of course, you get a 7-day free trial if you want to try it out. If nothing else, and you just want to join the guest chat for free, no strings attached, no sign-up required. Just either email us, that email is in the link, or leave your email in the comments, and we'll get you invited into the guest chat, and you can just experience kind of the basics of River for free. So, appreciate everything.
A lot of good stuff in the works too. So
absolutely. So, no lock show tomorrow. This will be the last show for a couple days. We'll be back, of course, on Thursday night to break down Friday's games. I believe that's when that's when baseball starts back up. Friday, right?
Yes. Friday.
So we'll be back Thursday. Have a wonderful All-Star break. We might do something fun for the Home Run Derby. We'll see. See if we can get Theo to do his best Chris Berman impersonation.
Just thinking about that makes me laugh.
That's what I'm saying. So, all right, guys, we'll have a wonderful night, day, break. Do a little bit of recouping and recovery from the day-to-day grind of DFS. And we'll see you guys back here on Thursday.
All right, guys, have a great All-Star break. Hit us up if you have any questions. Again, I encourage you guys to bring stuff to the table about, your own reflection on what's going on with your personal DFS play and life. So I know that's what I'll be trying to do, is kind of reflect, and it's going to be a nice little couple of days off.
Absolutely. So have a good one, guys.